My father body shamed me and made me cry in front of our entire family, so I gave him a brutal reality check. I told him I never wanted to see him again. My father has always joked about my body, despite the fact that I am 110 pounds at 5 feet 3 inches, while he is 240 pounds at 5 feet 5 inches. He thinks it's funny to put me down about my weight. When I first introduced my boyfriend to him, he made a comment that surprised me. "I'm shocked anyone would date you." The worst part is, he knows how much his comments have affected me in the past. When I was a senior in high school, I confided in my school counselor about his behavior, but she laughed in my face. She said I was delusional and that if I had self-image issues, I should be put in a ward. That brings us to yesterday. I visited my parents' house for a family gathering, and very quickly, my father began making fun of me. "Look at how her thighs jiggle. Look at her stomach folds when she's sitting." I was already on the verge of tears, but then he made one more remark that completely sent me over the edge. "How do you even have a boyfriend? Is he into whales or something? I mean, can he even find the hole?" At that moment, I lost it. I stood up, tears streaming down my face, and started screaming, "You weigh more than twice what I do. Your gut rests on your thighs, and you're insulting me? What kind of dad are you? I hate you." He looked around, stunned, his mouth agape, before finally responding, "Excuse me? I am your father. You will respect me. If not for me, you wouldn't even be alive right now." By this point, I was sobbing. I asked him what he got out of humiliating his own daughter in front of people. Instead of taking any responsibility, he brushed me off, saying he was only joking, and that I needed to stop being so serious. He even said, "I can't help that your body turned out the way it did," and told me again to stop being dramatic and accept that it's just a joke. I left the house immediately, driving home with tears streaming down my face. When I got back to the apartment, my boyfriend could tell right away that something was wrong. He asked me what happened, and I broke down, telling him everything: how my father had humiliated me in front of the whole family, how he kept making fun of my weight, and how he said that disgusting comment about him being into whales. My boyfriend's face turned red with anger as I kept talking, and I could see his fists clenching. I had never seen him so furious. He hugged me tightly and told me over and over that I didn't deserve any of that my dad was completely out of line, and that I was perfect just the way I was. It felt good to be held, but the pain of what had happened still lingered. He pulled back and looked me in the eyes. "I can't believe he'd say that to you. How could he be so cruel? You're beautiful, and you deserve so much better than this." I could tell he was barely keeping it together. "I want to talk to him. He can't keep treating you like this." I shook my head, wiping away my tears. "No, please don't. It'll only make things worse. He won't listen to you, and I don't want to create more drama. I just want to forget about it for a while, please." He sighed but nodded. "All right, if that's what you want. But promise me, if he ever says anything like that again, you'll tell me right away. I can't stand the thought of him hurting you like this." I nodded and hugged him again. "I'm just so lost right now. I don't know what to do." Update 1. At my boyfriend's request, I sat down with my father and tried to talk to him again. But it ended up being the same as always. My partner's father had heard about what was happening, but he had never witnessed it until yesterday. My parents came over to visit, unaware that my partner's parents were also there. The visit was meant to plan my 21st birthday. Despite the new audience, my dad didn't seem to care. He started his usual jokes. I was wearing a pair of leggings as my sweats were dirty, and he immediately shouted, "Why are your thighs jiggling like that? Do you actually train?" My mother laughed, like it was the funniest thing ever. Then, I heard a smack and my dad yelping right after. It's something common between them, but it usually happens only in front of others. My future in-laws didn't say anything, but I could see they were confused and annoyed. After a few more comments, my partner's dad finally lost it. He started berating my father, calling him a pathetic excuse for a father, and telling him that for years, he had to make sure I was okay because my dad didn't have a clue how to raise a child. He told him how sick he was for even thinking it was okay to treat his daughter like that and pointed out the mental damage it had caused me. He mentioned how many times his son had held me as I cried myself to sleep over one of my father's jokes. This went on for what felt like forever, and eventually, my partner joined in. Then, the conversation turned to my mother, who tried to switch sides. My partner's mother, a good woman but one with a nasty side when needed, wasn't afraid to show it. She told my parents to either apologize and leave, or they would no longer have a daughter. They apologized, but my dad still didn't see why it was wrong to joke. He insisted, "It's what fathers do." I cried the whole time, not about the fight itself, but because I realized how pointless it was. I was right. He came back today and gave me a bag with holes cut into it. Update 2. Yesterday, my father gave me what he called my birthday outfit. He said, "You won't actually fit into a dress, so I got this bin bag for you. I even made the holes bigger for your arms and thighs. Make sure to wear a belt." I just froze in place, unable to move, as I stared at his smirk. I stood there, holding the bag, still in shock, as he drove away. Later in the day, I got a message from him about my writing and art, which he had found. He started mocking that too. He commented on how I wish I could be as perfect as the characters I create. He wasn't wrong. I do use writing and drawing as a way to cope, and I do wish I could be that perfect, that confident, that normal. But I'm not. I feel like a screw-up, and he made that painfully clear. He made sure to tell me I'll never be as good as those characters, that I don't have the gene that's been passed down through generations. Continued, in response to his constant mockery, I made my dad a gift basket with a note, since he loves my writing so much and refuses to listen in person. Here's what I wrote to him: "Dear Dad, since you enjoy my writing so much, I decided to take the time to spell this out for you. This basket contains some helpful options. I've noticed your body has lost its shape and is honestly not pleasing to look at, so I've included workout pamphlets and personal trainer contacts to help you. One in particular can assist with that stomach of yours. I can only imagine your frustration at having a daughter fitter than her father. Since you clearly love taking your frustrations out on me, I've also included therapist contacts in this basket. I highly recommend reading through them. You might want to suggest Mom look into therapy as well, since her backbone seems non-existent and she lets awful men walk all over her. Fun fact: 110 pounds for a 5 feet 3 inches woman is healthy, if not bordering on underweight. However, 240 pounds for a man in his 50s, who barely scrapes 5 feet 5 inches, is concerningly overweight. I'd suggest addressing that. I'd hate for someone to start mocking you about it. It's very unpleasant. Now, setting pleasantries aside, this will be the last time you hear from me. This will be the last time I call you Mom and Dad. Since I have all of my legal documents in order, I no longer need to converse with either of you. Your names have been taken off the guest list for my 21st birthday, which you graciously refused to help pay for. If you show up, I'll have the police escort you off the premises. If you show up at my new house, or even follow me to the store, it will result in the police being called. If this behavior continues, I will file a restraining order against both of you. If you want a reason for this, you'll have to find it yourselves. It's quite obvious, but since you are so focused on breaking me down into submission, I fear you'll never understand. That's not my problem. Yes, you did bring me into this world, but you are not my parents. I have a family now, and you will never be part of it. Please, do take my advice and seek help. This is not a joke, Dad. Yours truly, your former daughter. I know the letter was rushed and short, but it was all I could manage at the time. My aunt's phone has been blowing up ever since, but she's blocked their numbers and ignored their calls. She even made sure the rest of the family knows what happened and why. As far as I know, my parents are being berated and disowned by other family members. I can't help but feel a little bit of pride in that. Update 3. After sending the letter, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Part of me was proud for finally standing up to them, but the weight of it all still lingers. A few days passed with complete silence from my parents, and I began to think maybe they had finally gotten the message. Then, the day of my 21st birthday party arrived. I tried to focus on having a good time, surrounded by my friends, my boyfriend, and his incredibly supportive family. We rented a small hall, and everyone was laughing, eating, and dancing. For the first time in a while, I felt like maybe I could have a celebration without interruptions. Just as we were about to cut the cake, I noticed my boyfriend's mom whisper something to him while nodding toward the entrance. My stomach dropped as I followed her gaze. There they were, my parents, standing right at the doorway as if they had every right to be there. My dad wore a look that tried to appear calm and friendly, but I could see through it. My mom clung to his arm, looking nervous and unsure. I felt my hands start to shake. I quickly looked away, hoping they wouldn't come in and ruin everything. But before I could react, my boyfriend walked over to them with a stern expression. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he shook his head and pointed toward the exit. My dad's voice began to rise as he argued back. A few of my friends exchanged worried looks, and my aunt, who had been sitting nearby, got up to join them. The next few moments blurred together. My dad was yelling about how they were my parents and had every right to be there. My boyfriend's dad stepped in, trying to defuse the situation, but my dad kept getting louder, insisting they had come to apologize and that I was being ungrateful. By this point, everyone at the party was watching, and I felt like I was going to be sick. I saw my boyfriend's mom pull out her phone, and within minutes, 2 security guards walked into the hall. They must have been nearby because they arrived so quickly. One of the guards approached my dad, trying to calm him down and explaining that he was causing a disturbance and had to leave. My dad, of course, wouldn't have any of it. He ranted about how they had no right to remove him from his own daughter's birthday party. The security guard remained calm and repeated that if he didn't leave voluntarily, they would have to escort him out. My mom, who had been quiet the entire time, suddenly started crying, begging them to let them stay, saying they just wanted to talk to me and make things right. But it was too late, the damage had already been done. The security guard gave them one final warning, and when my dad still refused to leave, they took him by the arm and led him out. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, and I just wanted to disappear. The pity in some of their faces made it even worse. My boyfriend came back over, wrapped his arms around me, and whispered that it was going to be okay, that I didn't have to worry about them anymore. But the night was already ruined. I tried to smile and enjoy the rest of the party, but it was hard to shake the feeling of embarrassment and anger. The next day, I was home alone when I heard a knock at the door. I peeked through the peephole and saw my parents standing outside. I really didn't want to deal with them, but I knew they wouldn't go away. I opened the door just a crack, enough to let them know I was there, but not enough to let them inside. "What do you want?" I asked. "We just want to talk," my dad said. "We're sorry," my mom added, staring at the ground. "We didn't mean to cause a scene. We just wanted to apologize and see you." I shook my head. "It's too late for that. You can't just show up whenever you want and expect everything to be okay." "Please, hun," my dad said in that scolding tone he used when he thought he was still in control. "We're your family. You can't just shut us out like this." A surge of anger rose in me. "I can, and I will. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences. I'm done letting you hurt me." My boyfriend, who had been in the other room, must have heard the commotion because he came out and stood beside me. "She's told you to leave. You need to go now." My dad looked like he was about to argue, but my mom tugged on his arm, pleading with her eyes. They both turned and walked away, my dad muttering something under his breath as they left. As soon as the door closed, I burst into tears. My boyfriend pulled me into a tight hug, whispering that I did the right thing, that I was strong for standing up for myself. And even though it hurt, I knew he was right. I was done letting them control my life, and I wasn't going to let them drag me down again. Thank you very much for watching to the story so far. I suggest you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss tomorrow's stories.